The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show.
September 2nd, 2021. Thanks so much for joining us. As we cover the news that's happening not only across this country, but across this globe, it's really easy to identify that something is amiss. Something is happening, particularly here in the United States of America. Wars, rumors of wars, plagues, pestilence, the plague of ignorance, and the plague of bigotry, and the plague of greed, all manifesting themselves not only in how we treat each other, but also how we treat our planet. There's so much to discuss today. Let's begin with On the Clock with Georgia Ford.
We're learning new updates about Hurricane Ida at the moment. It is stretching into the northeast parts of the region. I want you guys to take a look at some of this footage of the damage that has been caused across the nation. We also want to point to what's happening in regards to COVID. I've been hearing some updates in Florida. So we're going to be covering a lot this morning. We'll come back to Ida, but right now let's switch gears to what's happening in Florida. I'm hearing that school board members are losing their salaries in Florida for not upholding the ban on the mask mandate. Take a listen at this latest update.
State Education Commissioner announced the state will begin withholding the salaries of the Broward and Alachua County school boards for defying the governor and implementing mask requirements. That's despite the governor losing in court Friday, where a judge deemed his executive order unconstitutional. 10 other Florida school districts, including Miami-Dade, have issued mask rules.
And so that is the latest from Florida there. Ben, I'm going to hand things over to you.
Georgia, this is the work of Ron DeSantis, governor there in Florida. And what is so disturbing is that in order to get his way and to circumvent the ruling of the court, which gave the school districts the right to be able to implement a mask mandate during the middle of a pandemic. This is what we're dealing with right here. We are dealing with a governor who is so committed to ensuring that as many people as possible gets COVID-19. This is the sum total of what we're going to have happen as he's intervening now on the level. I mean, look at what he's doing. He's circumventing the ruling of the court and now trying to use the power of the Department of Education there in the state of Florida to penalize anyone who would defy his edict. And the sum total of the bottom line of the whole equation is that we are facing a type of leadership in this country, Georgia, to be quite frankly with you, a type of leadership that is totally and utterly committed to ensuring that as many people as possible get COVID-19. All right. I really want us to take a look at, and David, if you would go back to the video of what we're looking at with Hurricane Ida as well as the tornadoes, because it is a lot to cover this morning. And it is just part and parcel with what we're seeing. Honestly, we're seeing this. Georgia, it really feels like we're under attack, but not because of some type of doomsday or prophecy, but because of the ignorance of our leadership and their willingness to ignore not only the pandemic of COVID-19, but also what's happening in our environment.
Absolutely. I mean, the common denominator is our leadership when you look at all of these issues. And so if you don't acknowledge the role leadership is playing, then I think that you're ignoring the problem. We need our political leaders to take the changes that are happening in the environment serious. And we need our political leaders to take this pandemic serious. And largely, we're not seeing a consensus on either issue.
That's
There's still denial about the pandemic. There's still denial about climate change. How many more people have to die from COVID-19 for it to be taken seriously? And how many more degrees hotter does our Earth need to get before people look at this. You have a bus, you have vehicles who are driving in a flooded urban area.
Yeah.
I mean, we played clips of a fire tornado this week. We played clips of what looked like the pit of hell in the middle of ocean because a pipeline bust in the middle of the ocean and started on fire.
Yeah.
I mean, what more signs do we need before we acknowledge that climate change is really happening right in front of us and we're not doing anything? There's no mandates that are being put in place to prevent this from getting any worse.
In fact, Georgia, if we look down to the state of Florida, right, the analog to what is happening just look at that tornado. Look at this. And I want to be sure, of course, there are always going to be storms, right? But the intensity and the frequency of these storms are increasing. And how much further do we have to go before we realize, or rather before we get past the point of no return? And now we draw the analog to what's happening with the pandemic. We are not only having leadership that is ignoring the obvious, we have leadership that is exacerbating the situation. Ron DeSantis and the entire cabal of Republican governors across this country, they are committed to killing as many people as possible. And I do not mince words, because the sum total of what they are doing, their decisions will lead to the death of the maximum amount of people. And they are the people who have political power.
Well, and I'm glad that you brought DeSantis back up, because at the top of the show, I did want to expound on the piece about the school board members losing their salary or having it threatened to be taken away. If you violate the ban on the mask mandate, meaning if you allow children to wear masks, or if you mandate that they wear masks, you're going to face a penalty for that.
That's right.
How are we fostering an environment that will keep our children safe in this pandemic if not only there's a ban on the mask mandate, but those who are courageous enough to go against it are penalized by having their livelihood taken from them?
I think maybe perhaps the culprit here really is civility. Perhaps we're being too kind to these sociopaths who are in power because, well, we do have a requirement to present ourselves in a certain way. But I digress. The point is Ron DeSantis is trying to get your children killed. The Republican leadership across this country, they are trying to maximize the number of deaths. And they're going to have to prove otherwise, because the sum total of everything that they're doing, from Fox News down to these people who are at your school board meetings, who are crying at the top of their lungs for you to give them an opportunity to let you kill their children. This is the absurdity of the moment. And I think we must return fire with commensurate language, because Ron DeSantis is going to get your children killed if you follow his instructions.
And, I think we should hear from him. He's been outspoken about this, and he continues to defend his decisions. This entire pandemic, he has, to your point, put rules and laws in place that have resulted in the death of children, of teachers even. And so let's take a listen at what DeSantis has to say. What is his side of the story? What does he have to say about the decisions he's been making?
Death numbers have been going up pretty significantly. I wonder if you have any words you'd share with the families that are affected by that.
Yeah, I think it's in a rough time. I think there's people that have been infected or have been affected all across the state. And I think it's been a really terrible thing. And I think the thing that we're trying to do is say, okay, what was not being done? Where was the gap? And the biggest gap was in the early treatment. So I am confident that there are going to be people that are now being availed of this who are going to have better outcomes as a result of that.
The more contagious Delta variant has pushed Florida into a COVID crisis. Children are getting seriously sick, hospitals are over capacity, and portable morgues are being brought in to handle an overflow of deaths. But as infections ballooned in August, the Florida Department of Health changed the way it reported death data to the CDC, giving the appearance of a pandemic in decline, according to a stunning new report in the Miami Herald. On Monday, Florida death data would have shown an average of 262 daily deaths reported to the CDC over the previous week. Instead, the Monday update from Florida showed just 46 new deaths per day over the previous 7 days. The Florida Health Department has made several unannounced changes to its data methodology over the span of the pandemic, making it difficult to track the state's progress. Experts say the latest change creates a, quote, artificial drop in recent deaths without any explanation or context.
So if we can't really do it in real life, we'll just lie about it on paper.
I want to thank the folks over at the Recount who I believe they put that together. They're going so far as to erasing the deaths of your loved ones in Florida. That's what we're here. That's where we are, right? We can't account for deaths that, well, we can't account for. And we watched in real time last year as DeSantis cracked down on the reporting methodology, right? This did not just happen. This report did not just happen. And it came as a result of Ron DeSantis absolutely intervening in the type of reporting that came out of the health department. And we saw it in real time last year. And the result is, Georgia, that they are absolutely erasing the deaths of so many Floridians who have died of COVID-19.
Well, and it goes back to that common denominator of leadership. What kind of leadership would allow this to fly? Where's the integrity in the leadership to say we need to be honest and accurate? And this is the same leadership that also was okay with Trump supporters saying that the election was rigged, saying that Biden stole the election. And so we're continuously seeing this leadership that is not even just okay with standing by and watching other people do wrong, but indeed lying themselves. There's no integrity. And so it goes back to that fundamental common denominator that we talked about, not just with the pandemic, but also with environmental justice.
That's right. That's right. Because let's be sure the video footage that we were watching, some of it came out of New York and a portion that came out of Philly, but definitely urban centers. And the type of destruction and the flooding that we are seeing is going to cause a displacement. And this is what people have been predicting this is just within the United States. I mean, think of the chaos within the United States as the coastal regions have to come inward because of climate change. And I think maybe perhaps some of the leadership that doesn't care about climate change, they're nicely nestled in the Bible Belt, right? In the Midwestern regions, where they may very well be the beneficiaries of that mass migration that's going to come as a result of climate change. But I digress. The point is that poor people will not be the beneficiaries. We are not able to evacuate these regions. Look at New Orleans. They told everybody to evacuate. How can poor people evacuate urban centers when we barely have enough money to live in urban centers? And where are we seeing all the climate disaster happening right now? New Orleans, New York.
And I
it's
think
all over
that
the place.
the other thing to think about here is the affluent communities across this nation have enough money to go to the moon, to go to Mars.
Come on.
They don't have to live on Earth. And we've already seen, different CEOs. We don't have to say their names. You guys know who we're talking about, who have invested in making those trips already. And so if you can just abort Mission Earth and go move to another planet, do you really care if it burns to hell?
The absurdity of it all. Can we not see the villains amongst us, right? Because they're beneficiaries to the war in Afghanistan. They're beneficiaries for all of the labor that is exploited during this pandemic. The essential workers who are dying, well, they're beneficiaries of that death. And they're the billionaires that you're speaking of, Georgia, and they're beneficiaries of all of the trauma that we're seeing. And this is why I have to conclude this is not the end times because God is saying it's the end times. It's because this is man-made and there are people who are making a profit off of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Capitalism is at the root of many of the man-made disasters that are plaguing our nation. And it, if you have the resources to go stay in a cabin and be far removed from any of these issues and it doesn't ever bother you, do you really care? You know, because there are some people who have so much money that they don't have to be impacted by this stuff. And that's the thing, is that we can be in fear and we can be concerned because we have limited resources. And like you said, there's some people who can't even evacuate because they don't have the resources to do so. There's some people who have the resources to know well in advance when things are going to go wrong and impact them, and the resources to do something about it.
Right.
And so they, you know, when you have that kind of money, and also when you're a beneficiary, like you said, you pointed out, you have vested interest, you're an investor of something that's going to benefit from these things, your perspective and your lens is just different. And so I think how do we have a cultural shift among the more affluent communities so that they're not so removed from humanity, where they can have compassion for the people who are affected by these issues and who can't run every time something goes wrong.
That's right. Because we've been left in these urban centers. And when they got tired of us being in the urban centers, they came back and they gentrified us and pushed us out into the suburbs. And when they got tired of the suburbs, they pushed us out and gentrified us back into it's been a vicious cycle. And there have been beneficiaries at every stop. And there is a direct analog between the plight of Black people in this country and the amount of ignorance that is necessary to sustain this empire. Because we are at the point where the leadership, I really have to take a step back and say, where is the leadership that can see the absurdity of the moment and say enough? We can no longer afford the games that are being played by these sociopaths called the Republican Party. And we can no longer sit by and watch the apathy of the Democratic Party sit by while the Republican movement just changes and erases the entirety of the 20th century. We need leadership, and we don't have it right now.
The last thing I'll say about this, there was this post on social media that really caught my attention, and I did my best to research and see if it was true, but it pointed out the timeline of Katrina and Hurricane Ida and about 3 or 4 other hurricanes that all hit landfall on August 29th. And so it was like every 3 or 4 years in August, the end of August, we're seeing these terrible hurricanes and the cycle in which this happens. And so, we have meteorologists, the Weather Channel, all of these different storm tracking intelligent devices. But how is it that something like that simple, like every year, every 4 years on August 29th, we're seeing a similar storm hit in the same region? Like what preparation could be done? Like how many times does that have to happen before we notice a pattern and that we start to prepare and we send resources there in advance? If this is true, and I did look up Katrina for sure, and I know that one hit around the same time. And so if it's happening every 3 or 4 years, why don't we get ahead of this? Why don't we start 90, 60 days in advance and start planning out housing, temporary housing situations for people? Or, I mean, there's so many different things that could be done proactively instead of just sitting back knowing that there's likely going to be a storm coming at the same time every 4 years and just leaving people there to die and figure it out. And then there's chaos. Like it just doesn't make sense to me.
That would suggest, Sister Fort, that government has been organized to the benefit of the people. I would suggest the evidence to the contrary, that our governments, who are capable of doing exactly what you described, by the way. I mean, isn't that the reasonable thing to do? Isn't that just the sensible thing to do? But instead we ignore the obvious. And that's because if we pay attention to the inconvenient truths, then the way we prepare for these things is by addressing the underlying causes of these things and addressing it at the root. But that would require that we actually speak to the powers that be, to the people who have directly benefited from not only 20 years of war to the tune of $2 trillion, but also the people who are profiting off of ivermectin, people who are profiting off of hydroxychloroquine, people who are benefiting and profiting off the big lie. They're all inextricably linked.
Oh, before we run out of time this morning on the clock, I do want to turn to an update with the Elijah McClain story, a young man who was killed back in 2019. There were a lot of protests that happened for him across the nation. His name was one that was included in during the summer of unrest. That happened even with George Floyd, and people were demanding that there be some accountability. The Attorney General announced yesterday an update on the case. Take a listen.
Police officers and paramedics in Aurora, Colorado are facing criminal charges after stopping 23-year-old Elijah McClain while he walked home from a convenience store.
We're here today because Elijah McClain is not here, and he should be. The grand jury returned a 32-count indictment against Aurora police officers Randy Rodema and Nathan Woodyard, former Aurora police officer Jason Rosenblatt, and Aurora Fire Rescue paramedics Jeremy Cooper and Peter Chikuniak for their alleged conduct on the night of August 24th, 2019 that resulted in the death of Mr. McClain.
Police had gotten a call about a suspicious man wearing a mask.
I am an introvert.
They restrained him with a carotid hold, and paramedics injected him with a powerful sedative, ketamine.
I can't breathe correctly.
2 officers, a former officer, and 2 paramedics each face a count of manslaughter and criminally negligent homicide. 4 of the 5 also face assault charges. The kind introvert who played his violin to comfort cats at an animal shelter. He often wore a mask to keep warm because of a blood condition. Right after his death in August of 2019, prosecutors did not charge anyone. Some of McClain's last words, "I'm just different," became a rallying cry. Calling that response a hysterical overreaction, today the Aurora Police Union said our officers did nothing wrong. Sadly, Mr. McClain died due to a combination of exertion due to his decision to violently resist arrest and a pre-existing heart condition.
It just means a lot that the people will be held accountable for what they did. I know my son will be smiling.
Legal experts say that while it's unusual for police officers to face charges in this type of case, it's extremely rare for paramedics to do so.
So in this case with Elijah McClain, there are 3 officers and 2 paramedics facing charges. I think to some degree, would you say this has restored hope that there has been a change in the way that police officers are held accountable for fatal encounters?
I'm reminded of what my sister Anoa Changa always says. This isn't justice. Justice is stopping them from killing us in the first place. And so until there is structural change at the systemic level, which gives this police state the cavalierness to take our dear brother, precious brother, Elijah McClain, I promise you, until we get that systemic change, we're not going to stop fighting for justice, because justice in one case is not justice that we need. We need to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Absolutely. This was a young man who played the violin and guitar and was known as a massage therapist. His family considered him a spiritual seeker, and that's probably why he called himself different during this encounter with police. He suffered for a few days, actually, before he died from his injuries. And, I'm reminded of all the names that people don't know. Elijah McClain, that was a story that resonated with so many people across this country because he was a soft soul. and his violent interaction with police. People watched the footage and were outraged by the footage. But what about Winston Smith, a case that doesn't have footage?
That's right.
And so you don't see what happened to him, so you can't actually get outraged about it.
That's right.
What about Terrence Franklin? What about Marcus Golden? What about so many others? Breonna Taylor, Nakia Moody. I mean, I've met so many families and the names of their loved ones, people in this country don't know. So, and if these are cases that aren't resulting in indictments, that aren't resulting in convictions, then yeah, you have your outliers like Derek Chauvin and these officers who killed Elijah McClain, who are held accountable because there's so much visibility.
Yeah.
But when there's not the visibility and when there's not the footage,
that's right.
It's almost like people don't care.
That's right.
And an indictment, let's be clear, is not a conviction either.
Quite right. Isn't it enough yet? I really just want to ask the powers that be that benefit from not only everything that we just discussed about in the last segment, but even in this segment, the people who actually benefit from the police state that does this to Black people. Have we not offered enough bodies on the altar of your bigotry? When is enough enough? Because I'm going to tell you the honest truth. You don't have many more occasions to snatch out the lives of our brothers and our sisters and our non-gender conforming friends. You simply cannot continue to do this.
Yeah, something has to change. I saw Ben Crump get on stage at the March on Washington, and he said, "We don't care how. Pass George Floyd now. The George Floyd Policing Act. It's been more than a year." And that was the thing. I feel like because I covered so many protests, because I covered the Chauvin trial, and I was inside of the courtroom covering the sentencing, you know, I felt very in tune with the progress that was and was not being made. And there was this sense of urgency across the nation, and especially in Minneapolis after George Floyd was killed. There was this urgency that we were going to do something, that this generation was going to be the generation that was going to spearhead a new way for policing, a new way for public safety. And that was met with so much resistance. And for months, and even into the winter, I mean, it gets cold here. There were still protests that were happening, people still demanding change, people still showing up to city council meetings. People were relentless. And then 3 weeks into the trial, when Dante Wright was killed, there was still that same sense of urgency. But after the Derek Chauvin verdict and the sentencing, I mean, you could see even with Winston Smith, people weren't showing up anymore. You know, even when I went to DC, there just wasn't a ton of people marching for Antoine Gilmore, and definitely not nationwide. So what happened to that momentum? What happened to that urgency? Because if what was fueling that urgency and that momentum was change, let's be clear. We don't have a federal law that's been passed. Qualified immunity is still a thing.
That's right. That's right. And Georgia, the only thing that I would add to what you said is the fact that it's something that I believe his name is Michelangelo Signorelli. He wrote about victory fatigue, where if you get victories, then you actually do experience a lull. And that's exactly what you're talking about, because if people saw what happened with Derek Chauvin to be a victory, then they feel like they can go back to their respite and go back to brunch. But I just want to remind people that what we consider to be a victory is considered to be a setback for white supremacy.
Yeah. And when we were looking at that footage of the Dante Wright protest, I saw so many white allies. And so I wonder, you know, if the allies feel like because Chauvin was held accountable that we've made progress. And so they can afford to go back.
That's right.
Listen, Ben, I can't go back. I have a Black husband. I have a Black father. I have 3 Black daughters. So the risk for our family is still there.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And if I could be so coy to quote a line from my own work, we're people who are tired of overcoming. We're a people who are now preparing to lead the way.
Absolutely. Well, that's all this morning that we have. Stick around for more on The Benjamin Dixon Show.
Okay, because we gonna light this dang on microphone up and gonna act right, y'all. Good morning again, everybody. Make sure that y'all stay tuned. We got more coming up soon, y'all. More from the Benjamin Dixon Show. My brother from another mother is coming up soon, y'all. Make sure y'all stay tuned. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good to see everyone again. Make sure y'all stay tuned, y'all. Good morning, y'all.
Light up, light up.
Elizabeth, good morning, good morning.
I'm in line with the stars, I'm in sync with the earth. 10 toes deep, flower child from the turf. I never switch sides, like even when I die, I'm a ride.
I missed y'all yesterday, man. I missed y'all yesterday. I hope everybody had an awesome day. I know the show was awesome and scrap yesterday, and it's going to be even better today, y'all. Make sure y'all stay tuned. Get your coffee, your tea, your drink, your beverage, whatever it is you need to get your morning started. Good morning, everybody. Definitely good morning to you.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show.
Today is Thursday. DJ exclusive. I have not gotten the date right today yet. I started off this morning with it wrong, and I got it wrong again just now, but it is Thursday. I'm trying to make it Friday, but it is Thursday, September 2nd, 2021. DJ exclusive, man. We missed you yesterday, brother.
Man, I heard. How y'all doing? Y'all okay?
We okay, man. You know, the times are so heavy. I really need the joy that you bring to the equation, brother. It's not the same without the joy of our minister of music on the 1s and 2s, DJ exclusive.
I hate you, man. I feel you. I need that. You stupid.
Hey,
man,
what's up?
Man, it's time for you to change that intro. That was Big Ben in that intro.
I'm trying to remember.
Ben is not that big no more, y'all, okay?
But it was some good work. You like that design, right?
Bro, it's freaking awesome. I'm just like, damn, Ben was a little butterball.
Well, I'm proud of my work. I did that intro myself. So I'm like, well, at least let me put that in there until I do. But see, now the like it or not intro is on the small side. Like I got a Luther Vandross thing going on with me right now. So it's either Big Ben or it's the Little Ben, but I digress.
Shut up, girl.
It stands you for walking me right into that conversation live on air. There's nothing I can do because we're live. You walked me right into that, admitting that I have a Luther Vandross situation going on in my life.
Man, you have no Luther Vandross situation. Hey, man, when I say though, you put that work in because when I tell you from that to then, I think that was over a year's time, Ben.
Yeah, that was 60 pounds. That was 60 pounds ago. So bro, maybe you're right. Maybe it is time to update that intro.
You look damn good, bro. Let me say that. You look damn good.
I appreciate that, man. Well, man, you didn't think that back in college, man. Anyway.
See, now you want to go bring up old stuff. You know what? Can't tell Negroes nothing.
James, go get your coffee, man. Because We got some work to do. Go get your coffee. When we come back, I got some videos I want you and Rebecca to see, because I got some I'm going to hold for when Rebecca gets here, and then we're going to get an interview in a few moments with, and I'm going to do my very best to pronounce this last name, Brother Alex. But please, please forgive me rather if I mispronounce your name, Alec Karakasanis. Mm-hmm. You all know, as James, as you have stated, there is the pin condition that we have to actually triangulate for, and that is with the pronunciations of names. But more importantly than the mispronunciation of their name is the conversation that we're going to have momentarily about what we see that is the police state across this country. I want us to be very clear about the diagnosis. What we see, what happened to Brother Elijah McClain, is the direct result of the police state under which we live and under which we suffer. And that police state serves both political parties. I want us to be clear about this, that when it comes to the issue of Black lives, we have both sides of the political equation that have been at some points complicit, because we're actually faced with that conundrum right now. We're faced with the conundrum where we can't even get the George Floyd Policing Reform Act. We can't even get qualified immunity removed. And so we literally are talking about a political infrastructure in the form of the Democratic Party having the White House, the House of Representatives, and the Senate. And they are showing an unwillingness or the inability. I don't care which one it is. Whether it's because they're incapable or unwilling, the Democratic Party has shown that they are not going to make good on their promise to us, because we are almost through the very first year of Joe Biden's presidency. And the number one thing that we face so far is the excuse of the filibuster. And I want to be clear, all of these things are inextricably linked. David, I didn't give you time, but I want you to pull that clip of Mitch McConnell, where he's asking for us to pray for Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, because they are blocking us from getting any progress on the filibuster. And the filibuster is what is being used as an excuse for us to not address qualified immunity and police reform, to ensure that what happened to George Floyd and Brother Elijah McClain never happens again. We have Judases amongst us who are doing the bidding of the Republican Party. And they are now being asked that we pray for the people who are not in it for us. It's not just Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, to be sure. There are other Democrats who are 100% complicit with this. But these are the two that Mitch McConnell wants you to pray for. Take a listen in.
One more victory in Georgia, and I would be making this decision instead of Chuck Schumer, and this bill wouldn't be on the floor. We wouldn't be negotiating about it. We wouldn't be talking about it. It ought not to be done. That's how close things are in our country right now. I'm praying for Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, the two Democratic senators that seem to have some resistance to all this. I pray for their good health and wise judgment every night. I recommend you do the same. And some of you may actually know Senator Manchin, because he's not too far from here.
Now, in that clip, Mitch McConnell is talking about the infrastructure bill, but let's be clear. It is not only the infrastructure bill that Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema are blocking progress on. And that blockage of progress in the form of the filibuster and the unwillingness of those two Democrats and all the other Democrats to stand up and do what is necessary for us to get done what we need done on infrastructure, but also on police reform and qualified immunity, to ensure that the type of brutality and the cruelty that we saw in the murder of George Floyd and Elijah McClain never happens again. Joining me now is Alec Karakasanis, founder and executive director of Civil Rights Corps, an innovative systemic civil rights litigation aimed at re-centralizing or resensitizing our culture to the injustices of the contemporary American legal system, and author of Usual Cruelty. Alec, thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Thanks for having me.
The pleasure is mine. Could you tell us a little bit about your work as it pertains to the cruelty of this police state under which all of us are living in occupied territory?
Sure. So our work begins from the realization that this country puts human beings in cages. at a rate unprecedented in the modern recorded history of the world. We put Black people in cages at 6 times that of South Africa at the height of apartheid. We put all human beings in cages at 5 to 10 times the rate of our own historical average and of all other comparable countries. This is an unprecedented situation with 11 to 12 million people cycling through our courts and jails every single year in this country, 2.3 million human beings in jail every single night, as you and I are talking right now. And one of the things that means, first of all, is that a lot of people are profiting from this system. A lot of people are making a lot of money. A lot of people are dependent on this system for their jobs. But also, many, many people are so desensitized to this brutality that they don't even recognize the brutality in separating tens of millions of children from their parents every single year in American jail cells. And so our organization goes around the country and we sue cities and counties and states and judges and police officers and prosecutors to try and to resensitize our entire legal system to the inherent cruelty in putting human beings in cages.
You know, that focus on the desensitization and the sense that in some ways this feigned oversensitization, right? Like we are living in a time where everyone seems to be appalled all the time, yet they're never appalled about the things that are appalling, namely the rate at which we capture and put to work human beings through our criminal justice system. Could you speak about that for me?
Yeah, and I don't use the term criminal justice system, right? I don't want to give anybody the impression that either its purpose or its effect is justice. It's a criminal punishment bureaucracy, right? And like all bureaucracies, its goal isn't safety or wellness or health, right? Its goal is to constantly expand its own reach and power. That is the goal of the people who run our bureaucracy, okay? And I think the really important point that you just made is about the media and the political class in the society. Their job is to distract people from the things that are really important and get them to focus on the things that are utterly unimportant. And so the same thing is happening in the criminal punishment bureaucracy. All of the so-called reforms that leaders are pushing across the country would do nothing to decrease the size and power of this giant bureaucracy and all of the multi-billion-dollar industries that feed off of it. They want you to think that these are their reforms, when in fact, almost all of these reforms are actually designed to increase the size and power of this bureaucracy.
Wait, hold on now. Isn't that funny? All of the reforms. So everyone who is yelling, reform the police. And, oh, by the way, we don't want any sloganeering. So don't say defund the police, but let's say reform the police, which in and of itself is a slogan, Brother James Clyburn, but I digress. All of these people who are talking about reform are absolutely talking about funneling more money to the people who are occupying our communities in the form of the police state. Wait a minute. That sounds like a hustle.
Let me give you 2 examples, right? Number one, all these people across the country now, these elites, these police departments, they're saying, well, you look at something like Elijah McClain. You look at something like George Floyd. What the police officers need is more training, okay? That has been the answer for the last several decades. Every time the police brutally assault people, every time they kill 1,000 people a year, every time they do several million illegal arrests, every time they brutally assault labor organizing, housing organizing. This is the same thing that happened when police brutally attacked the women's rights movement and the civil rights movement over the last 7 or 8 decades. Basically, every time the police act out their role as a right-wing force in the society, a bunch of sort of police and former police and liberals and fancy professors come out and say, well, the police just need more training. Well, if you look at what police training is, it's actually an internal world of highly paid consultants who have a vested interest in selling more training. It's a way for police to deflect the constant and historically consistent role that they play, which is to brutally crush any organization that is seeking working class, race, economic, gender equality in this country's history. And the other thing,
so before we move past that, because I want to make sure we synthesize that down to something people can understand very succinctly. So what you're telling me is that everybody who is screaming for police reform are actually laundering money to the police forces to crack down even further on us.
That's exactly right. Police training is a sham. The idea that police, let me put it this way, police are the most highly trained, sophisticated actors in our entire legal system. They have incredible surveillance technology. They have incredible training. When you look at what police did to over 200 protests all over the country, the beatings, the surveillance, the taserings, that wasn't a mistake. Something isn't a mistake that results from lack. The New York Times called it a lack of preparation, a lack of training. But they did the same thing in 200 cities. Police are highly trained. This is what they're trained to do. And what most police training, sort of advocates understand that the public doesn't understand is that this is a multi-million-dollar a year industry. Yes. And if you go on the media and you start saying, I'm going to provide police training, we got to do all this training all over the country, what you're actually signaling to police behind the scenes is we're going to get you tens of millions of more dollars. The other example I think is really profound is after the killing of Trayvon Martin and the murder of Michael Brown in Ferguson, all over the country, you saw a new refrain from elite bureaucrats like Barack Obama. We need body cameras, right? Body cameras became the solution to everything because Michael Brown's killer cop didn't have a body camera on.
There we go.
What most people don't understand is that police unions and police departments for years had been wanting body cameras. They just didn't have the billions of dollars it would take to equip every police officer in this country with a surveillance camera that they control, that they turn on and off, right? And that they use for evidence against the largely poor and black people that they arrest. So what do? They allied themselves with liberal reformers, and they used their own violence and brutality as an excuse to get billions of dollars in funding to equip every cop in this country with a camera. And you know what their ultimate plan was? To link those cameras to facial recognition and voice recognition databases that are run in cloud computing systems like by Microsoft and Amazon, connecting police departments and the FBI and Department of Homeland Security and other federal agencies. That was their long-term plan, and they've succeeded because all these police reformers told all these well-intentioned liberal Americans that the solution to police violence wasn't getting police to stop arresting poor people and black people and changing the way we think about wellness and safety, but it was just filming the police officers going into the same neighborhoods with the same technology and the same weapons.
Man, let me make sure I heard you right. You mean to tell me that in this equation, we have to account for liberal leadership, the people who are yelling for reform, and their relationship to the actual people who profit off of the money that is funneled from taxpayers? We had on a clip yesterday, protesters in Washington, D.C., who said it very succinctly. We are funding our own executions. Some of these dollars come in the form of black taxpayer dollars in cities like Atlanta, where now we are seized by a police force that demonstrated some of the most barbaric response to the George Floyd protest last year. And so we have a conundrum of something in our community. And when I say our community, I don't mean just the black community, but the people who think they're the good guys, the liberals, that makes them part and parcel complicit with the police state growing. We're funding our own executions, and we're celebrating it in the form of the Democratic Party. Am I hearing you right?
I think that's exactly right. And it's very unfortunate. I mean, one thing that we have to be very honest about is that this system of mass incarceration, mass human caging, mass family separation, race-based human caging, what Michelle Alexander calls the new Jim Crow, that was largely constructed by the Democratic Party machine in big cities across this country. Now, of course, the Republican Party also deeply desired this outcome,
absolutely
pushed them at every step of the way, did it wherever they could as well. But we can't overlook the fact that liberals built this system. And if we don't confront the fact that everybody in the major political parties, the ruling class elite, even in communities of black and brown people, there's a book by James Forman that won the Pulitzer Prize called Locking Up Our Own, about the role of black political elites in creating a system of mass incarceration. And we just can't turn away from that, because we have to understand that we don't trust these people, the same architects who built this system, to dismantle it. And so instead, what we need to do is focus on local, community-based organizing that is attempting to extract money from these large corporations, extract money from police budgets, extract money from prosecutors' office and judges and jails and prisons, and instead invest them in things that we know work. Local programs to interrupt violence in communities, addiction and mental health treatment, after-school programs, the arts, athletics for children. These are the proven things that work in our communities, and yet these are the very things that we are taking money away from. We are cutting music lessons in schools so that we can give body cameras to cops, and that is actually absurd.
Body cameras that they cut off when it doesn't suit them, that in like Chicago, they withhold that information from us conveniently to get their second term, Rahm Emanuel, and that same Rahm Emanuel now being appointed as the ambassador to Japan by none other than Joe Biden, who did a good thing getting us out of Afghanistan, mind you, but we got to look at the interconnectivity of the oppression under which we find ourselves. I need you to answer this question for me and tie this all together. How is Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin and that cabal of the Democratic Party that does not mind playing the foil? They don't mind being the bad folks on the national stage. How is it that they are complicit? And draw the line from the filibuster and how the filibuster has been used and is being used to block progress, because we got the power to get it done except for the filibuster. Connect those dots for me.
I think it's very complicated, because if you look at every major moment when the Democrats are on the verge of significant social change, they always pick a couple of people in the middle to blame it on, right? And of course, those people deserve blame because they are blocking, ideas that could transform the way our society works. But I think that the rot is much deeper in both the Democratic and Republican parties. I think it's easy to blame it on two people, but I bet you there are a number of other people that would step up in their place if those two people weren't in the way. They are being sort of conveniently used by a lot of the mainstream political parties. Because the thing I want to say is it's not just Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. There are people like that in every state house in this country that Democrats control. There are people in every local city council that Democrats control. Nothing that's happening in Congress right now is affecting why all these cities, like Atlanta, like Oakland, right, like San Francisco, they're increasing their police budgets every single year, like Chicago, right? And so this is a much deeper, more profound betrayal by the political class and elites generally. And I think it's a mistake to blame one or two people who are obviously bad actors, who don't care at all about these communities, who don't care at all about equality and justice in our society. Of course, those people deserve blame, but we can't stop with them, because this Democratic Party controls local governments all over this country. It controls state governments in many places around this country. And none of these transformative changes are happening in any of those places either.
And quite honestly, the exact opposite. It's not only are we not getting transformative changes, we are getting saddled with the attack on Roe versus Wade. We're getting saddled with increases of budgets to these safety rackets known as the policing departments. Alec Karakasanis, thank you so much for joining me. And the name of your book is Usual Cruelty. How can everyone find and support your work?
You can find us on our website at civilrightscorps.org. And you can find me on Twitter at EqualityAlec, and you can find us on Twitter at CivRightsCorps.
Thanks so much for joining us. Everyone, stick around. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to throw it to the hands of DJ Exclusive. When we come back, like it or not, we have some clips from some evangelical pastors that, we got to call them on the carpet for their false prophecy. We'll be back right after this.
Turning minutes into hours into days. Thinking about the situation. Wonder if it's ever
And we would be as happy as can be. Oh,
y'all make sure y'all stay tuned. Good morning, everybody. Carly, good morning. Shay, good morning. Brother Chuck Diesel. Lonzy 17, good morning to you. Ear Hustler, good morning. Mara Cerise, good morning. Courtney, the SLP. Randy Greer, good morning to you. Brother Tiger, good morning. Patricia, good morning. On and on it goes. Good morning to Pioneer. Good morning, Barbara. Kareem, Nat A, Princess Bronze Uncut. Get morning, y'all. Get morning. Brother Goku, good morning. Stress Techno, you don't want to hear Billy Ray Jesus this morning? I heard a sound. All right, y'all. Y'all welcome back to the screen, my brother from another mother, Benjamin Dixon.
I hear a sound.
I heard a sound.
I hear a rumbling in the universe.
Sounds like.
Sounds like white supremacy.
Sounds like white supremacy.
Impeachment.
Impeachment.
Do we have Billy Ray Jesus? Do we have him? Do we have him on standby? Because I need people to understand why we have so much joy about our hero sound.
Somebody say Reverend Lace Front.
Reverend Lace Front. Somebody give us the clip, the link. Somebody find it in the chat room and drop it to our producer, David. In the meantime, I want to shift gears and go to another evangelical in the form of Rick Wiles. And James, I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. We got some we have some straight up false prophets.
Yeah.
That are on the international stage, on the national stage, in the form of the white evangelical conservative preacher. They are spreading. I really wonder if they thought they would be able to stand out here and be this level of false prophets and God not respond in kind, because some of these preachers are turning up dead from COVID-19 because of the absurdity of their false prophecy. But I digress. Here's Rick Wiles making his contribution to the altar of ignorance and bigotry in the form of the white evangelical movement. Let's run the clip.
Living in a Zionist matrix in this country. They control the media. They control the social media. They control major portions of the U.S. government. And our country has been taken over. What we need in this country is a good old-fashioned American revolution to break the back of the Zionists. That's what we need in this country. You want America to be free? Break the back of the Zionist grip on this country and return America to Christ. The Zionists are antichrist. When are you going to wake up, America, and realize you're in bed with the devil?
I really wonder if people like Ben Shapiro, who is of the Jewish faith, realized that at every step of the way, these white supremacists were always going to turn on you and default back to their anti-Semitism that drives them. Because, man, this is some anti-Semitic, man. Like, wow. He's saying that, he's going to the height of the anti-Semitism trope of the power. But here's the thing. The funny thing, he called them the Antichrist. The funniest thing, I had an occasion to talk to Professor Anthea Butler, and she's an Ivy League professor, Black woman, dynamic, considers herself to be a prophetess as well as a scholar, biblical scholar, and I would have to concur. We had a conversation about how these evangelicals don't even realize how they are the Antichrist in the narrative.
Right.
You guys are the bad guys, evangelicals. You are the ones that the Bible was talking about that have to be opposed. And I wonder if they of course they can never see themselves in that light because they really believed what they're saying, James. They really believe this bull.
Mm-hmm. They do. And I really don't get it. I don't understand. It's like, said y'all the Antichrist. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. When they're wearing the mark of the beast. Make America Great Again hats. Yeah, they're running around here. You've identified yourselves. We know who you are.
And I wonder if they feel bad because they have several deaths on their hands.
That's right. A lot of deaths.
Feel bad. A lot.
I wonder how many people they've buried in their congregation that they're not reporting.
Bruh. Exactly, man. And they probably sweep it under the rug because these are the type of people that these politicians listen to because they fund all of this stuff and they get funded to say all this right-wing rhetoric and all this other stuff, anti-vaxxing, anti-masking, and saying all this extra crap, man, just to make it fluffy and look good.
January 6ers.
You. Exactly. But y'all getting all this money just to say all that stuff. Guarantee y'all wear masks, y'all are vaccinated, and y'all don't care if these people are dying or not, man.
And so you actually pointed out those that are hustling and those who are true believers, because there's some pastors, some white evangelical pastors who have died of COVID-19. Sorry for y'all. Sorry to that, man. You should not have been a true believer in the ideology and the religion of white supremacy. But then there's the other side of the equation, those who like Tucker Carlson, who most certainly is vaccinated. In fact, you can't even get into Fox News in New York City, downtown Manhattan. You can't even get in there without verifying that you've been vaccinated. Yet and still, they are doing everything they can to ensure that you don't get vaccinated, bro. We dealing with some sociopaths here. This is some serious stuff. Run the clip of Tucker Carlson. We're shifting gears in the language in the particular topic, but this is him with Stephen Miller. Right. This is Tucker Carlson with Stephen Miller. And I want you to see where they have common ground, because if the rubber met the road, we see that white supremacy always goes back to its anti-Semitic roots. Right. Let's be sure. But one thing that the bigotry that's existed in all societies can agree on is that they want to make you afraid of the other people who are coming to our country to take over our country. A lot of context there, but let's run the clip so you'll see what I mean.
Foreign consulates administration is making preparations through its foreign consulates and missions to accept in an open-ended, unending way Afghan nationals who leave the country and apply at any U.S. mission around the globe. Mostly that'll be happening in Pakistan. Again, they will bypass lawful visa channels and, if necessary, abuse and, in fact, violate a law known as parole, which is meant for very exceptional case-by-case circumstances, and bring these individuals into the country with no real vetting and no real knowledge of who they are. But more important than all of this, Tucker, is common sense. If you bring in several provinces worth of individuals from Afghanistan, you will replicate the conditions in Afghanistan here in the United States of America and all the horrors that entails.
Which is why I think Martha's Vineyard is a perfect place for them to go. The island's big enough for 100,000 Afghan refugees, and if the people on that island can afford to help, they say they care. Every single Afghan refugee should be moved to Martha's Vineyard tonight.
Open their homes, open their clubs, open their private schools, open their private dinner clubs.
This is actually, I want to, when Rebecca gets in, I want her to help dissect this one, because, man, the game that they're playing here. The two voices that you heard, there were Tucker Carlson and Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller is a former chief propagandist for the white supremacist in chief, Negative 45, Donald Trump. And so he is a master propagandist, and his number one technique being, if I'm not mistaken, I do believe that Stephen Miller has some Jewish heritage, but he never fails to make an alliance with white supremacists in the form of Tucker Carlson and those same Nazis in the form of Rick Wiles, who we just got through hearing espousing some of the most ridiculously anti-Semitic vitriol that we've ever seen. Yet and still, there is common cause to make us afraid of Afghan refugees. Because you know what sells better than anti-Semitism? Xenophobia. That's the one thing they can agree on, is that you should be afraid. You should be afraid of the Afghan allies who put their lives on the line for this empire, which that's a whole nother conversation that we should have at another point. But the point is look at these folks, man. They are willing to make you say, hey, be afraid of those folks coming from Afghanistan who literally put their lives on the line to help America. Why can't we bring them to America, James?
It makes no sense.
Exactly.
In Tuckum's face, gosh, man, it's just, I got lost in, I didn't even hear what he was saying because his face just distracted me so much. Just like, bro, I just want to just punch
hey man, what is it about? Why is it that white supremacy, when they go bald, they don't look as fabulous as black men when we go bald?
Oh, they really don't, dude. You can see it all. Jesus.
Look at this man.
This man is just evil. He just looks and he just screams white supremacist. No, what they said, no melanin. None. Not one pigment.
Not a single pixel. This brother don't have a single pixel of melanin in him.
Not nan bit. But not nan bit, that means not any at all, okay? Not nan bit, not any.
You know, don't translate. This man looked like somewhere between like a white supremacist George Jefferson and and Fred Flintstone, bro.
Yes, dude. Ben, that was the most gone spot on description I've ever heard in my life.
But moving on up. Racist.
Well, we're moving on up to the east side.
No, we're moving on up. Seek hell is more like it. What he gonna say? And man, white supremacy is not a good look on you, man. It ruins you from the inside out. It decays your soul. Unless you're an elite like Tucker Carlson, which is the second half of this that I want Rebecca to chime in on. And I think James, we can give her a proper introduction rolling into her intro, like it or not.
Yes, I agree. David, y'all ready to roll that intro?
Like it or not, with Benjamin Dixon starts now.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hey, Rebecca.
Can you hear me?
Giving me
dang
it in.
And then his camera goes out.
That's what happened with me. But my whole system shut down this morning.
Welcome to Like It or Not, where we're free to tell the truth
and not care who doesn't like it. Hey, guys. It's me.
September 2nd, 2021. And we are blessed with the presence of none other than, she done hit the wrong button. My sister from another mister, Rebecca Azor. I am not Rebecca Azor, but I am going to filibuster long enough for her to hit the right button on her camera and get back into the conversation. In the meantime, I want to run this next clip of Tucker Carlson because as many people tell us that we need to not give them attention and energy, the fact of the matter is that if we don't respond in kind, we're going to find ourselves living in a reality that was crafted by people like Tucker Carlson. Let's run that next clip, David.
These people are coming here from Afghanistan and where they're going. What neighborhoods are they going to be living in? But of course, you have a right because it's your country. You own it. You pay for it. You were born here. It belongs to you. So you have a right to know what happens in your country. We looked into it and visited the official website of the State Department run by Mr. Tony Blinken. You'd have found a list of what they call welcoming communities. These are places where Afghan refugees, in particular special immigration visa holders, will be settling in the United States. You may notice that these communities include an awful lot of swing districts and swing states all over the United States. 3 of these communities are in Texas, a state the Democratic Party has tried to flip for years now. It's their first priority. The State Department has also urged Afghans to go to the state of Pennsylvania. Does Pennsylvania need more people? Probably not. A lot of unemployment between Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, but Pennsylvania is also a state that Donald Trump won in 2016. So maybe they should go there. One swing state that's not on the official list is Wisconsin, but they're getting a lot of refugees from Afghanistan too. This hasn't been publicly announced. We learned on Monday when Congressman Tim Tiffany joined us to describe his visit to Fort McCoy in the state of Wisconsin. He said of the 2,000 Afghan nationals there, none were special immigrant visa holders, meaning none had worked for the U.S. military. None of them were, quote, allies, the people to whom we owe free health care. He also said that these Afghans, despite not being allies, were free to walk off the base anytime into our country and just move here. Like, whatever. No paperwork for them. Nobody was stopping them.
Rebecca, I think the question I want to ask you, and then you could go wherever you want to go, because there's a whole lot more that's happening in the world than Tucker Carlson. But can you just help me understand? Yeah, refugees / immigrants, like none of the people who are coming over here are going to be able to vote in the first place. So what the hell is Tucker Carlson even talking about? These people aren't going to be able to go there and swing the state of Pennsylvania. But help me, because besides the forced, what that textbook say? That textbook said that we had that slaves were immigrants. That's Texas textbook, but we're not immigrants. But for somebody who's a descendant of immigrants, y'all help me out. Are people who are here able to vote?
Who are immigrants?
Who have not become citizens?
Who have not become citizens?
Like these refugees.
That's law. That's
law.
Come on.
Like, damn law. Come on.
Period. That's law. Okay.
That's law.
There is no way that we all know that now. In our history books that taught us
nothing but some things, that's something that you should know. That's even refugees, immigrants, everybody comes over here. The diaspora, I'd be like, yeah, we know we can't vote. Like, we know, like, you know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, like, people who make these arguments, and this is the thing, there's so much more going on in the world that deserves some kind of wording, a platform, and here you are making up some how my ex used to say, a diabolical situation. And it ain't it. Like, why? Because it's like you're using your platform just to create fluff, right? Just for nothing. When there's so much going on, New York is underwater. New Orleans, literally, like, they need assistance, they need help. We got to figure out how we're gonna do it with them. Flint still doesn't have clean water.
Come on, somebody.
Texas has an abortion law that just passed, but then at the same time passed a gun law for folks to not even
need a permit.
Okay, so you just out here could purchase, walk around. See, this is what's going on in the world, but y'all don't want to talk about that though. But
they want to make up something. What'd you call it? It's a diabolical what?
It's diabolical. What? But yes, that right there. So just
because it ain't even remotely true.
No, it's not true. Like, when I was reading his the headline, I said, or the lower third, I said, who is saying refugees come and vote? Who is saying that? Who is saying people who are not citizens to come on and vote?
Who told you that?
He needs his audience to be this stupid.
What paperwork do they have to go and vote? We got to show.
Come on, you barely could be a black citizen of the United States of America and get in the voting booths to poll. You think a refugee from Afghanistan? No, right. The fact that it's not going to happen.
And what's happening is all these people that he reaches out to now, they're going to think in their head, oh, y'all are letting these people come here so they can vote. Y'all dumbasses, they can't vote.
Well, the Afghan refugees,
those darn Afghanistanians,
they're taking all the jobs or voting the blue into place. And it's like, you don't make any sense. Like, are you serious? They can't vote. Do you think they care about voting? They don't. I don't think my parents didn't care about voting until they saw something and they heard something and they were informed about something or someone that would be able to assist them. Then they were like, maybe I might become a citizen. Like, I know I live here. My dad, who was here since he was 17 years old, he was like, hey, I ain't no citizen. My mama, who couldn't speak English until like 5 years ago, she literally became, like, she was fighting to become a citizen. Meanwhile, my dad, who knew English already, like, who knew just been working out here, everything since he was 17 years old. He was just like, I ain't really trying to do all that. He just became a citizen.
So how long have they, since he's been here since he was 17? So how long did it take for your dad, who was an immigrant, to become a citizen? Now, how old is your dad now?
My daddy about 60. He about to be 60 on him and my mom have the same birthday. So he's about to be 60 on September 9th. They're not the same age. But
somebody please get us, what is it? I believe the average amount of time it takes for a person who is an immigrant or refugee or whatever the case may be to become a citizen or get the ability to vote takes about 10 years at a minimum. Your dad took 50.
My dad chose that life. It didn't choose him. My mama now, she was like in there every day, like, damn, I failed. What's that word? Damn, I failed. So we were, as kids, schooling her on what to do as children.
Wow.
As children when my daddy was working. So my mom's sister took the test from Haiti. She took the test all day, every day. Never was passing it for to come here. And finally, she was like, forget it. She moved to Chile. And as soon as she got to Chile, met a husband and everything. Life is good for her. America's supposed to be like that free, that all that. They make it hard for people. So I'm telling you right now, these refugees, they not really trying to go through the process because the process is very strenuous.
Right.
But what's simple to some people ain't simple to them. And what they do literally is make it tough for you. If you mispronounce a simple word, if you say, they ask you who the president of the United States is, because that's one of the questions, and you might have a heavier accent and stuff, they're going to just say you are not ready to become a citizen. Yet you've been working. You've been working here for God knows how many years. Okay, they've been taking money from your paychecks. Okay, they've been doing all kinds of things, but you are not ready to be considered American because your accent is too heavy. Because you got that one question wrong about how many stars are on the flag.
Well, let me ask you a question, Rebecca. In all the situations and scenarios that you know of immigrants, refugees, because let's face it, like we because of so many situations in Haiti, we have refugees from Haiti. So they're not only immigrants, but people who are seeking asylum. In all the cases of different variations of people coming to this country, have you heard of an instance of them putting themselves in harm's way by going to try to vote illegally?
No. The only time that I've heard that this happened when they were manipulated and told they can go vote. So they pulled up somewhere and they were told they were manipulated and told that they can go vote. This wasn't a Haitian. This was a story that I read long ago. And people were saying that they can go vote, like just going and saying go to vote. And these people really thought they could. They questioned the fact that they're like, wait, I know I'm not supposed to go vote. But the people that were walking around and canvassing and I guess trying to get these people in trouble, these immigrants.
Oh, you think it was intentionally to get them in trouble?
This was definitely intentionally. They were inducing these people to go vote, and they went and were told you can't vote. And some big scene was made at the place. It was crazy.
Oh, wait a minute. No, now see. At first, I was suspicious, but now I know you're talking about the. This is a case that's connected to Project Veritas. Those people who make up scenarios, and it's
just to make it work in their favor, so they can. Yeah,
James
I don't
O'Keefe,
remember.
the con man. Yeah. So and it's funny because every instance of voter fraud that I've ever come across has been Republicans who actually go and try to vote twice for Donald Trump. We've had an abundance of those, but I've rarely ever have seen a single person, because you got to think about refugees. Like you think about immigrants, whatever variation of coming to America, you think they're going to put themselves in harm's way by saying, hey, come check out my papers that I don't have.
No,
so that I can vote for Joe Biden.
Nobody is doing that. They don't even want to be. They don't even want to be stopped by the police. They do not. They will not even take from. Now, there's some of them that are really great scammers, but they will not. They will not. Listen, I ain't telling them my phone.
They the best ones too.
They won't even steal from the store in that way. They won't do it. They don't even like the police. They don't like the law. They know that once law comes to them in any way, shape, or form, they're already going to be judged. Like, hey, like you need to go back home. A lot of these people haven't been to Haiti since they were like 2 years old.
Wow.
Okay. And I have a friend who was deported recently after getting into a car accident. His dumbass was driving drunk now. And he ended up because he goes by another name here.
Don't put too much information out. But he's already gone.
I mean, he's already gone.
Okay.
And he had to make a life for himself there. Yeah. But because he went by another name here, and when he went, his natural name is something else, and because the police didn't like that, they sent him back to Haiti. I mean, of course, he was driving drunk, but he did the whole thing where he went and did the test, got the ticket, had to do all of that. But
and as soon as they found out he wasn't here properly,
they were like, "Oh, your name is this, but you go by this. We don't like that. Let's take a look." And they put him in the immigration jail that whole time, and then they sent him off. So he never got a chance to see his girlfriend. He never got a chance to see his mother. He never got a chance to see anybody.
But they're going to have everybody afraid of immigrants again, because it is a really easy tool to. I mean, hell, that's how Donald Trump got elected in the first place, right? They got to have their boogeyman. And right now the boogeyman is any type of immigrants, especially the Afghan refugees that are seeking asylum. Rebecca, we're actually, honestly, in your hands. Where do you want to go from here?
What do I want to do?
It's your world.
From here. So I want to start by apologizing for having such great skin. I'm just kidding.
All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. We will see y'all in the morning
next time.
I want to apologize because I think I wore this shirt already. That's how late I am. I grabbed it with whatever. I think
nobody would even know.
Nobody can tell, Rebecca.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I did because I have
somebody can tell. Somebody who's paying all the attention.
I have 16 Tupac shirts. So like I don't know. I don't know. But anywho,
you know they watch Rebecca a whole lot. They know. Somebody already chatted them.
Every day.
Rebecca had that shirt on.
That's why she's saying. That's why she's apologizing.
This week.
I heard it.
Because somebody just texted her and said, "I'm trying to cover. We're trying to save the world," and she texted somebody about her shirt. Go ahead, Rebecca.
But okay, so we have a lot of stories to definitely get to. But I wanted to tell you guys about this because I know I've been telling you guys about how many times I've been having police officers come to my door, right?
Yeah.
So the other night, I was literally asleep. I just got off of work, took a shower, laid on my couch, was thinking about how dudes do me wrong all my life. And
all my life,
I had to fight. And I'm just like, going through a breakup, and I'm just sitting on my couch like, I am tired. I'm tired of just gone. Okay?
Right. That's how I be.
That's a hell of a sound effect, Rebecca. Wait a minute.
Exactly.
That was convincing. I thought you fell asleep live on air.
I was like, girl, we are not doing that tonight.
Right.
We gotta know this. Like, and I was gone. It was like God was like, what? A tear shall not fall. You will not do any. Oh my God. He's like, girl, go to sleep tonight. You're getting sleep, and for the rest of the week, you're getting sleep. We're not doing that. So I was asleep. I get a knock on the door, and I was like, it better not be because I don't have no time. And it's a gated community, so nobody can come in without that. So I open the door, and I'm like this. I see somebody with a beat face, beautiful, looking like Queen Latifah. It's a police officer.
Oh, wow.
I said, and she's just like this at the door. And I'm like this at the door, like trying to see if this is what's happening here. What the hell? She goes,
Mrs. Officer.
She said that she was thick too. She was like, so she just looked at me. She was like, hey, they complaining. They saying that there's a lot of rattling going on in your home. There is not, listen. I said, ma'am, I didn't even make it to my bed. I'm asleep on my couch. I am tired. So that is not coming from my home. She said, girl, she put her hand on my door like this. She said, girl, I know. She's like, the people next door have been complaining. And I stood at your door before I even knocked and I heard nothing. She's like, I heard slight music because I play music when I go like in my home. Whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
So she said, I heard slight music, but the walls be thin here. I saw them make this place fast. I said, yeah, they made it while I was literally living in this home. They was making other apartments around me. Look, we over here. It is like 1 a.m. And we over here just like, yeah, girl, it's crazy. So then she says, you guys, and then you know how I've been stressing about all these police officers. She says to me, I was like, I don't really think my neighbors like me too much. And she's like, girl, of course they don't. You're black. And she's like, they're white. I looked at my police officer and I'm looking like, is this really happening? It is 1 a.m. What's happening? And she's like, girl, they not gonna like you. She's like, I live in my place and they get mad all the time. And my feet heavy and I live on the top floor. And I'm looking at her like, Jesus, what is her foundation process? Because this is beautiful.
Because she was beat to the guy.
She was beat, huh?
At 1 a.m. And I'm just like, what's happening? But she's just like,
this officer said this about to pick up somebody.
And she said, don't even worry about it. She probably, no, because it's probably her shift and her man probably FaceTiming her, whatever. Or her girl, I don't know. But she goes, girl, let me tell you. She's like, well, I'm just going to have to say, keep it down. Anyways, girl, go ahead, go to sleep. Good night. Keep it down. I said,
good night, queen. Did she get you with a good night, queen?
Look, we just looked at each other like, and I like this. All right, girl. Like, we just had that moment. And I'm
girl.
like, like, girl, okay. She's like, keep it down.
That was it. The black girl nod. The black girl nod.
Black girl nod.
No, we were just like,
I see you, queen.
Girl.
Yeah, black girls do the black men do the. All right, bro.
I see you, king.
And she was just so pretty. But I was so grateful because it took God knows how long for me to just have a black presence just come over me and be like, girl, I got you. Don't even worry about it. They probably might call every day, but keep it down. That's all I can do. If you're not doing nothing,
we need to pull up, Rebecca.
Yeah. No,
do we need to pull up?
Now I got a black woman police officer.
Okay.
She good now.
We
come up and have a whole ass party. And want somebody to come knock on this door.
I have not.
Too loud. Your mama too loud, bitch. Shut up.
God, James.
I'm sorry.
Let me go in so I can find these stories.
There is now assessed $100 fine. We have to get the buzzer. We got to get the red flag buzzer. But anyway, the God damn it, James, I can't take you nowhere. We got people watching.
With this one,
we got people watching. All right,
wait, the fans
listen,
watching
because that's what
they stay watching.
Yeah,
I want to play.
But that's what
Rebecca. There's the we only have about let's see, we have about 26 minutes left in the public show. There's a lot happening. There's that clip of the anti-vax mom who I think is one of the wildest things that I've ever seen. And then there's obviously what's happening with the Supreme Court. Joe Rogan. I mean, there's just Elijah McClain.
We have what's happening out of Texas, and me just seeing the videos. I know I didn't post that, but the videos coming out of New York, and this is all infrastructure issues. There is so much going on in the world, but I actually want to start off with just quickly going over the Elijah McClain situation. And Elijah McClain is one of the ones that, and I just, when I say the forgotten ones, I mean ones that are no longer in the news cycle. Okay. Right. So when they're no longer in the news cycle, we can't really too much like remember them or discuss them enough. Like they just become a hashtag, and sometimes they're buried into whatever news is popping for that week. Right. So the 3 officers and 2 paramedics have been indicted by a grand jury in the deaths of Elijah McClain, Colorado's AG said. And it comes over 2 years after officers violently detained McClain and paramedics injected him with ketamine, resulting in his death days later. And as we know, he was screaming or telling them, you know, hey, I don't want any trouble. You know, hey, I'm not here to fight. And he was even giving them endearing words as they were literally detaining him. I will never forget it. As
we covered it as it would happen.
Yeah, it's a lot that happened. One of the guys that made that song, Try Jesus, but Don't Try, he literally made a song called Arrest the Cops that murdered Breonna Taylor. And at the end of it, he was like an Elijah McClain too, because they hold that boy. And I always go back to that because I'm like, there's literally a song out here that mentions Elijah McClain as an honorable mention in a song because we already started to forget about him. But now we're here. The news came, and I think it shocked everyone because we weren't even. His birthday recently passed, and that's how people were remembering him online recently. Yeah. But we weren't even expecting any justice or anything to happen on his behalf. But God is good, and people were working in the background while we was forgetting there are people on the ground working, and we got here. So hopefully something comes of this, because this baby didn't deserve to lose his life because they just assumed that he was dangerous or a threat. So
I don't know how you can listen to this boy's last words and not immediately fall over on your knees and beg him for forgiveness for putting his life in harm's way and then snatching his life. There's a level of barbarity in this particular case because Elijah was gentle and he let them know, I'm just different. You can hear it in the clip. You can hear the audio. Whether or not we want to play it, that's up to y'all. But you can hear him saying, I'm different. I'm an introvert. And then he starts saying affirmations, telling the police officers that I believe he said that they're beautiful and and he's trying to get his way out.
I think he was being forgiving because he knew what was about to happen in that moment. He didn't want to die, and he told him that. And he told him he is different because he's different. And a lot of times, you know, a black person saying they're different don't mean nothing. Like that don't mean anything. That's not going to save your life. You're already black. So I think he already knew that.
So he forgave them in advance of his death.
I believe so, and that's how I literally see it. And it does hurt to know that, but I think I'm in a better space emotionally because this happened without even me expecting it. Because there are people still doing work.
People on the ground.
There are people in the legal system that have been fighting
Organizers.
And,
oh my goodness.
Organizers on the ground, people in the legal system that partnered with these organizers and these real true activists who did not care if this made the news cycle or not. They were still pushing and they were still fighting. That's what made me so proud, because I'm like, it literally dropped just a few days after his birthday, but people were just like, I don't care what anybody else has to say. We're going to get this popping. Like, I don't care what popular death is in the news cycle. And I hate to say it that way, but we're not going to forget about this person.
That's right.
We're not going to forget about this person.
That's right. Whew. In other news.
And I think that's good news. So hopefully he gets the justice that he deserves.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. In other news, let's talk about that anti-vaxxing mama. Talk about.
Oh.
So I remember on a few days ago, I did tell you guys about a woman who was on the show, and we were discussing this. Someone was on our show. We had a guest on our show. I think it was Pascal. I don't remember. Yeah,
Pascal.
We were discussing the fact that there is an anti-vaxxing mama who literally has been going around on her Instagram and posting up, hey, if you work here, if you work there, and he's going to discuss it in a second. But hey, if you work here, if you work there, you can help me by helping you. Give me like fake lot numbers, and we can.
Oh yeah,
and we can create fake vaccine cards. So, so the anti-vaxxer stripper, anti-vax mama, she's been charged for running the vaccine card scheme on Instagram. Jasmine Clifford of Lyndhurst, New Jersey, was charged by the Manhattan District District Attorney's Office with selling about 200 fake vaccination cards on Instagram, where she was known as Anti-Vax Mama. The 31-year-old charged $200 per card to make them seem believable. She enlisted the help of Nadiza Barkley, an employee with the New York clinic, to enter buyers' names into the New York State Immunization Information System database. The 27-year-old allegedly entered at least 10 people into the system, charging $250 for this extra measure. The state system keeps track of who has gotten the COVID-19 vaccine. That information is then provided to Exceller Pass, and a New York-based app that gives immunization proof to various companies and venues. Even more troubling, and this is a report by Baller Alert, which I love, is that several of the buyers were New York hospital and nursing home employees. Former Governor Andrew Cuomo formally announced that all New York healthcare workers would have to be vaccinated. Clifford has been hit with a slew of charges, including criminal possession of forged instrument, offering a false instrument for filing, and conspiracy. Barkley, who was her partner, faces charges of offering a false instrument for filing and conspiracy as well. The buyer of the fraudulent cards has been charged with criminal possession of a forged instrument. So,
oh Lord, that's a lot.
My own eyes, anti-vax mama selling the stuff on. I had to go on her page to see if it was real. She was literally doing this, and she's a mother, and she said, "You got to do what you got to do, and you make $10,000 every week." Now,
I remember that we covered that.
Yeah, we did cover it. We did play that man's video. But I want to play a bit of it. I want to play a bit of it again. Let's hear.
And the vaccine readily available, more and more businesses are requiring their employees be vaccinated, and to prove that, they need a vaccination card. Now, this is a problem for people who don't want to be vaccinated, and there's some people out there who are turning this into a business opportunity. Meet 5-star Jazzy. She has over 300,000 followers on Instagram and quite a few hustles. You'll notice in her description, founder of Anti-Vax Mama 2. Yeah, that's because Anti-Vax Mama, her original account, got deleted, and I suspect it's because she posted stuff like this. Advertising that she's selling fake COVID-19 vaccine cards for $200 a pop, but they'll have real lot numbers on them. Now she's continuing this from her new account and even from her main account. She posted this the other day explaining that she has a backlog of messages and also that she's looking to expand her team. So if you have computer access at hospitals or CVS, DM me ASAP. Now that led me to believe that she's either stealing existing lot numbers and putting them on the cards, or she's getting someone to enter people into the system that haven't been vaccinated to generate their own lot numbers. But I didn't want to make assumptions, so I decided to message her and ask. I told her I work at a Walgreens. She said to text her ASAP. She asked if I had access to enter the vaccine information into the system, And then asked, because I'm in Florida, how do people verify here that they're in the system? Because in New York, they have an app. And the person she has in New York doing this can provide the numbers that the people can check in the app. I explained in Florida we have a site you can do that on, and asked what exactly she needed. She told me she provides the person's name, date of birth, address, the vaccination date, asked if I can backdate them, and then has me enter them into the system to generate lot numbers. So I would enter them in the system as if they had just received the vaccine, which they have not. But the system would believe that they have. And if someone checked those lot numbers, it would say their name. That made me curious how many people were doing this.
Wow.
So we don't honestly,
because
doing the
him,
due diligence. Yeah.
Right. Because of him, this heifer's probably a warrant out for her. I see David said that she never showed up to court.
So all those other people who were, people who were a part of it, they showed up to court in the video that we saw, but the person who was a mastermind, or at least the face of the mastermind.
Say mastermind because you're stupid.
Yeah, that's why I said I had to take that label off of her.
Really?
Yeah. Now, before we were talking about it and we were discussing they didn't even really have a system. I believe when we were getting vaccinated and we got those cards, it wasn't thought through.
Yeah.
It was just like, get vaccinated, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was such an important, hey, just get vaccinated. They didn't think it through. And I don't think that at that time we were really placed in the system or whatever, because some people accidentally got vaccinated 3 times, at the time when it was fresh. So it was, a lot going on. But I will say now, as things, go by and we are in a trial and error, and I think we're past the trial and error process. People, listen, they tracking people down. Like I just read, there are systems put in place that will tell you where these vaccination, who's vaccinated, where are they from. Also, the lot numbers are very important, and that's how people know it's legit. And the problem is, they thought they weren't going to get caught. How are you on the whole Instagram?
The whole Beyonce's internet.
On Beyonce's Instagram.
No, that's Jay-Z's
Let me
Instagram.
say on Diane Warwick's Instagram.
There we go. Okay.
Diane Warwick's whole social media.
Sis, I can't let you slide. Dion Warwick. We're going to get called out. All right.
Dion, I got to get it right. Dion Warwick. Okay. Dion Warwick. So, because she owns the social media right now. So, on her internet. Okay. I don't know how you really thought the feds weren't watching. I don't really know how you thought people who are so pro-vaccine were going to let you sit there and really act like you're doing the people a favor by giving them fake vaccination cards. Imagine people riding in these airports with fake vaccination cards, which brings me to another story.
Moderna.
Also
They said Moderna?
Right. Also
Moderna.
About a woman who actually was trying to get by with a fake vaccination card. This vaccination card had the writing, to make it look like it was actually
legit.
something that was legit. But yet the spelling of Moderna
it was wrong.
D-E-R-N-A. And we know if you are vaccinated or if you've been following the vaccines, know Moderna is spelled M-O-D-E-R-N-A. So on hers, while she was trying to get by, it came hers came up with M-A-D, and she has been charged. So y'all playing, it's
so
coming
stupid.
to you. Each and every time you guys go out here and y'all keep playing something, there will be something put in place for law-wise to get y'all together. Why not just not get vaccinated and sit your ass at home? Or why not get vaccinated, get your vaccination card, wear your mask, and be able to do what you need to do? Why?
And people don't understand. They just so stupid. And I'm glad that they have starting to put stuff in place. I'm glad in New York they have a system that they can check with these employees to make sure that they got this damn vaccine. Because that regular card, I know of several people that have gone through the airport when you have this or travel different places. They ask to see that card. They don't check none. They just look at the card and just wave you in. These concert venues or events must be vaccinated. They ain't looking at the card. They're looking at no system to check.
Let me tell you how they doing it. They literally doing it like this. Okay.
Rebecca.
And then I stopped the lady. When I was at the event, I had to look at her and say,
Rebecca.
Ma'am.
Okay, that's good. Go ahead.
Ma'am.
I want you to look.
What? I was like, no, no, sis. No.
I need you to examine this card.
No, I need
to
you
examine this
look, 'cause
card.
I worked hard
to get this
through
crap.
so many phases to get to this place in my life. And now you're not looking at my card? I need to know that whoever's in here with me is vaccinated and waxed as well.
I gained 150 extra pounds so I can be classified as extremely obese so I can get this damn vaccine. We gonna look at this damn card today.
James, you put in good work putting in them pounds so we can get over this thing, boy.
Do you know how much I had to eat?
I hear a sound.
Sounded like McDonald's.
Listen, we had to literally be down for some people just 2 days, some people not at all. I was down for a whole week. Sick.
Yeah.
The dog.
Yeah.
From the vaccine?
Yes, my second vaccine.
You didn't tell me that.
Snotty nose. Yeah, no, I didn't want to tell nobody because I didn't want anybody thinking I had it.
It was probably a
Gina.
combination, Ben. It was a combination that she got the vaccine and she probably did have it. No, it was a cold. That's all it was. It was a cold, y'all. It was just cold.
Damn. You want people to know you had it, Pam?
I said, no. I was like, I don't want nobody to know. And so when I finally recovered, I was like, ha! Woo!
The blood of Jesus, it shall never.
I ain't never gonna go out with no mask again.
What's that gift? What's that gift when she walk in the door? She like,
yeah, that literally everybody says that looks like me. Yes, that America's Next Top Model.
Yes.
Opens the door.
Hey, where is that gift? I pronounce it GIF, but we'll let GIF.
Give GIF Todd same thing. Me, whatever they call it.
No, it's an ongoing argument. I honestly don't know which one is right.
It's GIF.
It's GIF, right?
Look, we both don't know.
I don't know.
See, you thought it was GIF.
I thought I used to know.
I thought it was both too. So whatever.
Oh, can we play
in that particular moment? It's fine.
Can we play my favorite podcaster admitting that he caught COVID-19 and now he's going to take the horse dewormer to try to cure himself? Joe Rogan.
Did he say he's going to take it?
He did. He really, really did. Run that beautiful bean footage, David.
Oh, I got back from the road Saturday night, feeling very weary. I had a headache and I just felt run down. And just to be cautious, I separated from my family, slept in a different part of the house. And throughout the night, I got fevers and sweats, and I knew what was going on. So I got up in the morning, got tested, and turns out I got COVID. So we immediately threw the kitchen sink at it. All kinds of meds, monoclonal antibodies, ivermectin, Z-Pak, prednisone, everything. And I also got an NAD drip and a vitamin drip, and I did that 3 days in a row. And so here we are on Wednesday, and I feel great. I really only had one bad day. Sunday sucked, but Monday was better. Tuesday felt better than Monday, and today I feel good. I actually feel pretty good. That's the good news. The bad news is we have to move the Friday show in Nashville.
Yeah, he looks terrible. He think he look good.
He looks like he's draining and his skin is turning yellow. I don't think that was
jaundice.
Yes, it's giving jaundice. It's giving jaundice skin. It's not.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug. You mix cocaine with a bit of ivermectin and you get Joe Rogan.
You're gonna have a hole in your booty.
I'm worried that he's about to not. He needs.
He doesn't look healthy. He doesn't look healthy at all. He does not.
But he looks like he's got a check to cash because out of everything that he confused and muddied the water.
You can't cash no check when you
say it
when you dead.
That's why I think he's vaccinated. I think this is all a scam. I would venture to say
he looks sick right now.
No, he just looks sick anyway because he's Joe Rogan. I mean, he's been doing he's put a whole lot worse than ivermectin in his body.
Most times he looks much better than that because right now that man look like death.
Oh, he's in his natural habitat. He doesn't have the makeup and stuff. Yeah, I see.
Knocking on that man though.
Look at his eyes. His eyes are saying, "Help me, please."
It's the eyes for me. That's where you can tell. Look at him. That's why it looks like Mount. Oh yeah, man.
But he pulled himself out of his deathbed to come out here and promote ivermectin. Because if you don't remember nothing else he said I took ivermectin, and he's trying to make people think that that's how he feels better when he looks like he's dying.
Ivermectin has been a very popular word for the last few days. I have never heard ivermectin before last week. And now everything is ivermectin.
That's because somebody's paying to get it put into the national discourse.
Exactly.
Like this.
Mm-hmm. But
What's
there's
the
a lot of
man
news
name? Is
that
it Rand
stays
Paul?
out of the way because of ivermectin. Ivermectin has made it to it's abuse to me. You're abusing yourself by using products supposed to be on animals in yourself. Who is saying that this is okay? Who okayed this? That's the thing. Like, why would you trust anyone? We have been seeing so many ridiculous things, but people follow it. They said, don't inject yourself with bleach, and people were doing that. Don't drink the household products, but you were doing that. Like, it's
too much.
Taking a shot of bleach, thinking y'all was gonna be okay. What the hell? Get out of here!
I hear a sound of my intestines.
David said there's a human version for There's a human version
falling out of my
ivermectin, but it's not tested for COVID-19.
Yeah, I forgot it. I saw some of the things that they said that it does or what it's for, but I'm just like, that's not.
Hey, wait a minute.
It's for parasites.
Can you do me a favor? Can y'all do a scene for me of Rebecca breaking into the to the pharmacy to get some ivermectin? Like, because this is what they're doing, y'all. They are Republicans are so desperate to find a way to survive without taking the vaccine that they're breaking in and getting the prescriptions for ivermectin, turn around and their intestines are leaking out into their toilets and they're having to call emergency assistance, and Joe Rogan is promoting it.
It makes me want to throw up.
That's really terrible, dude. That's just
I don't even want to do it, man. That's nasty. Like, why would you say that? Like, I feel like
I hear a sound.
It sounds like ivermectin to me. You need to go get some for my COVID. Rebecca gave me COVID the other day, so I had no choice to go get me some of that ivermectin. They said it's good for you, and it got me strong like a good old horse.
I didn't give you COVID. You got COVID for messing around with those women. I know.
See, I told you she was clean. You didn't listen to hear me.
Now we have to go up into the CVS because that's where they said they have the ivermectin. Right? Am I right or am I wrong?
I don't give a damn where it's at. I just want
you got to go to your livestock.
Well, now will you put me up on your shoulder so I can get through the small window above where the W sign is? Is that a real window over there at the TV? Look, I said CVS, but there's a W sign on top of the CVS.
Is it? Wait a minute, Jay, Bubba, what type of symptoms are you experiencing, Bubba?
I got this real nasty cough. Then my stomach feels like it's on fire. Then my head hurts like some bitch. And then my ears are ringing. I tried drinking a little bit of bleach, so that might be the reason my stomach is hurting. But I was going to get some of this ivermectin to try to get me to get rid of whatever it is.
His breath smells every day. He's been coughing on my neck, and I'm just like, it's hot. It feels like skin is just really ripping off my neck before I don't even know. And that's how I knew. But let me tell you how I know that he has COVID and I don't. I haven't had not one symptom. Not one symptom.
Wait, well, I'm sorry. Wrong culture. My bad.
I haven't had a thing. So now knowing that you guys are just, you Bubba and friends, Bubba and his female friends, his male friends.
I told you she was clean. I told you they were clean. It was like a little orgy that we had with some horses. That's where I heard the ivermectin came from. I tried to get it from the source. I didn't know what to do.
Have COVID.
I'm sure you got it, honey, because I coughed all on your face the other day while you were sleeping.
Patreon.com/like it. We're going to carry shenanigans over into the after party.
No, before we leave, I do want to. I think these stories should be in the main show. Okay, I wanted to just touch on this Texas story really, really quick.
Oh Lord, that's a big one for the. She would wait for the biggest and the most important story.
No, I wanted to put it in, but then we did what we just did. But I want to. I definitely want to touch on this because it really, really shows you where Texas is. First, giving us the critical race theory. They don't want any of our history in their their books that what they want white history, which is a lie, to still be in there because they think that is the norm and that pacifies their children. But a controversial Texas law that bars abortions at 6 weeks went into effect early Wednesday morning after the Supreme Court and the federal appeals court failed to rule on pending emergency requests brought by abortion providers. They failed to rule, huh? The lack of judicial intervention means that the law, which is one of the strictest in the nation and bans abortion before many people know they are pregnant, goes into force absent further court intervention. The law allows private citizens to bring civil suits. Listen to me. Listen to what I'm saying, guys. This law allows private citizens to bring civil suits against anyone who assists a pregnant person seeking an abortion in violation of the ban. Okay, so no other 6-week ban has been allowed to go into effect, even briefly. And this is what sucks. What the CNN Supreme Court analyst said to CNN, what ultimately happens to this law remains to be seen. But now through their inaction, the justices have let the tightest abortion restriction since Roe versus Wade be enforced for at least some period of time. And I feel like it's crazy because now the same state literally just decided to bring this gun law, right? Where you don't need any license or any training required to get a gun. They value people to literally walk around with guns, no license, no training. 21 years old, no license, no training. Come out here and literally in a time where mass murders are happening, especially in southern states. Mass murders are happening all around. But you're saying that that's more important for people to have their freedom with guns, but not with abortions? So I don't have any authority over my body. And abortions are with women who were born female. Okay, they're gonna be the ones that have the issues the most. Women in this country already have issues in healthcare. Now we got women,
Black women especially.
Black women. Now we can't even walk around and say that I don't want this baby, or I didn't even know I was pregnant, or I was raped, or this is medically not going to be something that is okay for my body. They're taking that right away for God. We don't know how much time, but even if it's for a day or 2 days, 3 days, a person could literally go and sue you if they find out that you're having an abortion at 6 weeks. Somebody posted on social media and said this, guys, that this right here is going to cause a lot of women to go and do things to cease their pregnancies on their own. Maybe by drinking teas, maybe and I know it sounds crazy, but I'm telling you, if they can't get the proper assistance to not have this child, then they're going to go in alternative routes. And we know that there's a black market for that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we saw it historically, which is one of the reasons Roe versus Wade was a case to begin with. And the privacy of women, right? It was based on the Fourth Amendment, the privacy, the right that women have, but it's not a right that's recognized. And I'm so thankful that you juxtaposed it with the fact that they're letting people take guns. They don't care about life. This party who says that they are pro-life, they don't give a damn about life because they're going to put weapons into the hands of people without any training, without any licensure, and they're just free to run around the country and kill even more people. So when they say that they are pro-life, it is an absolute fraud. They don't give a damn about human life.
And that's period. That's why I said I wanted to just have that conversation really quickly, not trying to hold up, no space or time. I'm not here for a long time, but I'm here for a good time. I really wanted to definitely point that out, that Texas should be under the scope. The world is going through so much right now. I just read on Twitter with all that's happening in this world. With the infrastructure issues, literally, we just talked about in New Orleans and New York, the storm issues, the climate issues. The conversation hasn't popped up yet that America, it's because of voodoo or it's because it's cursed, or people are undeserving. That hasn't popped up for you guys yet here. For us here yet, that hasn't been nothing.
Oh,
this is a shithole country. It literally is that. This country sucks ass. I'm sorry to all the patriots in the comment section, but look at your country. Please do.
Look at it.
We got so much going on. There's drama in the White House over a dog biting somebody. Like, they want to make that news so bad. Where's the dog? Why? If you guys are not telling us about the dog, then we can't trust you guys to tell us anything.
Meanwhile,
the war that's supposed to be ended. Like, are we not talking about? There's so much going on in the world at the hands of America, and there's so much going on in America. Okay, right now. So that's the conversation. Texas is a fool. Texas is a whole fool. All right. So I don't want to take up your time.
No. Before we do go, because Rebecca is so important, I do want to say it is very clear to me, and it should be very clear to everyone, while they're running their mouth to speak negatively of the country and the nation of Haiti and to try to say that Haiti is cursed, America needs to recognize that we are literally living underneath the 10 plagues, right? We're living under like war, pestilence, famine, like I mean, plague, pestilence, disease, greed, bigotry. Like, I mean, do we really need for the death angel? Well, actually, we're living underneath the death angel. 700,000 people dead. Like, at what point do we take a step back and realize that while we're trying to pronounce curses over nations like Haiti, that the United States of America is living in what is a man-made pandemic and plague. I'm not talking about COVID-19. I'm talking about the level of ignorance that has seized control in this country. And clearly, they don't care if the earth burns. They don't care if we're flooded out. They don't care if it's if it's war that takes us out. The people who are in charge of this country just simply do not care that we're on the pathway to destruction.
Your camera is possessed. Your camera was trying to focus on you, was trying to figure it out.
And it's been doing it all day too, and I ain't had a chance to say nothing.
Oh, you know what? Is my head. I asked my kids to cut off the camera yesterday, and they hit a button that they should.
I don't know. I feel like it's his beard. He hasn't been really shaving it down. He's going scruffy again. So it looks like it's trying to focus in and figure it out.
Trying to get the BDBs together.
No,
he's having a hard time processing.
I don't know.
His camera trying to figure your face out.
I don't know. Ben used to have this beard that was out. I remember it was like
pretty
yours,
wild.
Bubba.
I felt like Samuel or somebody, like a big old bearded Moses or something. Except it was nice and textural.
That's when you was holding on to that piece on the top.
I had to let that go.
That's it. Let it go.
I'm just glad that when I shave my head, I don't look like a white supremacist, Stephen Miller.
I'm not like that. I like no skinheads around here. Hey, we're heading into the after show. If you guys want to catch us in the after show, patreon.com/like it or not. Become a Patreon today, and you can get access to where the party at.
Season 2 is getting ready to start. I'm not going to say, we're not going to give the details of what is going to distinguish season 2 from season 1, but you will see very, very, very soon a facelift and a shift and a partnership that is going to constitute season 2.
That means we getting photo shoots.
Right. And look, Rebecca, I'm gonna ask y'all this: who I need to send this music to for Rebecca for the intro?
For that intro, because we got to get that thing changed.
I've been had that music for the longest, but I'm just like, I don't know who to send this.
Send it to David. David's going to put together. Okay. We're going to have new photos.
David could have asked me about for that intro a long time ago. I've been
no, it ain't. Listen,
I blame David.
Also, we will be upgrading the social media as well. So whenever you need updates, it'll be on Instagram. And once we figure out Twitter, I don't really know. But we will definitely. We'll probably just make another Twitter page, and you guys can follow us there. But any updates that you need, we'll be updating you guys as well as to what's going on with the show. More clips to follow. We'll be
the after party.
Season 2 is about to be hot.
And listen, also, if you're not coming over to the patron party, or the after party, which you should, but if you're not, Chuck Diesel, do me a favor and go through all the chat rooms and put the link to Pascal, the Pascal Show. They will be going live any minute now. But for those of you who are patrons, patreon.com/like it or not, or a patron of any of our pages, DJ Exclusive, take us on over to the after.
So that means you shouldn't be going to Pascal's show just yet. You should be becoming a Patreon. And after the show,
decisions.
We'll go over to Pascal together. I love you guys. I'll see you in the after party.
I was about to say, Dwayne, David, make sure you drop us that link, please, so I can get on over there in the chat room. Y'all, thank you again for tuning in to Benjamin Dixon Show. Shout out to Georgia Ford as well, too. Thank you for our guests that we had, man. Make sure that you stay tuned, and we will see y'all at the after party. Stay tuned, y'all. Love y'all, mean it. And for those that are not joining, guys.